Heartwarming heroes, discover the incredible transformation in K-19's last 3 life-changing hours. The familiar hum of K-19 crackled in the air, thick with the scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee. But today, the warmth of the diner felt colder. Whispered concerns hung like storm clouds overhead. Rumors swirled that the beloved diner might close its doors for good due to the town's faltering economy. Hank, the proud owner and a decorated veteran, paced behind the counter, his heart heavy. He had poured his life into this place, and now he felt the bitterness creep in like a cold shadow. Emily, his estranged daughter, stepped through the diner's doors. The familiar aroma drew her in, but it collided with memories of bitterness and lost dreams. She had chased her culinary ambitions in the city, thinking she'd outrun her past. But now, faced with the reality of K-19's potential closure, a tightness gripped her chest. She was here not just to confront her father's disappointment but to find her place in a community that had once felt like home. The tension between them rippled through the air, as thick as the aroma of Hank's signature pancakes. "Hank! We're ready for the bake sale this weekend!" shouted Carla from behind the counter, rallying the community. "We'll keep K-19 alive." Families, baristas, and dreamers joined forces, pouring their hearts into raising funds. The clanging of pots and laughter mingled with the determination in the room, but despite their best efforts, it wasn't enough. The reality of loss loomed. As Hank watched his community fight for survival, pride clashed with despair. Feeling hopeless, Emily's gaze fell on the worn-out recipe book beneath stacks of dusty menus. Rummaging through the pages, she was flooded with memories. Every dish smelled like home, every word whispered of love, laughter, and hard times. An idea ignited within her, a community feast. A chance for everyone to share stories and dishes that brought them together, much like K-19 itself had through the years. The days leading up to the feast were fraught with tension. Hank's heart battled suspicion as Emily, bursting with excitement, immersed herself in planning. Would he even show up? Emily felt a mix of empowerment and anxiety as she coaxed the community to contribute their secret recipes. Yet beneath her determination lay the fear of failure. The diner as a backdrop for countless thoughts of regret. Night fell on the day of the feast, and an electric atmosphere filled K-19. Laughter erupted as folks gathered, savoring dishes prepared with love. Yet in the corner, Hank remained conflicted. Was he ready to embrace Emily's vision, or would his pride drown out the noise of joy around him? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The plates filled one by one, infused with stories of resilience that washed over everyone like a warm embrace. The diner pulsed with life, each laugh and tear bringing deeper connections. With each story shared, the echoes of healing whispered louder, and suddenly, it wasn't just a meal. It was a lifeline. As the last of the dishes were served, a silence fell momentarily. Hank's gaze met Emily's, and in that moment, all the words unspoken filled the diner. Would he let go of years of hurt? Would this night restore the bond they both so desperately craved? The question lingered as the community stood united, waiting on the edge of transformation, anticipating the tales yet to be woven together. The atmosphere in K-19 crackled with unsaid words and shared dreams, leaving Hank wrestling with the storm inside him. Around him, community members chatted, their laughter punctuated by the clinking of utensils and the aroma of simple, hearty fare that reminded them why K-19 mattered. But as smiles lit up faces, Hank's heart remained in shadow. The weight of their shared history hung heavy, turning what should have been a joyous occasion into a bittersweet reminder of how far they had drifted apart. Emily felt the tension, too. She wore her excitement like a beacon, shining despite the dimness in her father's eyes. Each dish served was a tribute not just to food, but to every moment they had spent apart. She noticed Hank standing by the counter, his gaze distant, as if searching for answers that lay buried in the diner's walls. "Dad," she called softly, stepping towards him. The nickname felt foreign yet comforting. "Can you help me in the kitchen? I think it's going to be busy soon." He turned towards her, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of warmth in his eyes, but it quickly dimmed. "I can't, Emily," he replied, his voice rough like gravel. I don't know how to do this." As he spoke, the noise of the diner faded, replaced by the pounding of her heart. Would they ever find their way back? It was a question that spiraled through her mind relentlessly, gnawing at her resolve. Before she could reply, a group of children burst through the door, laughter spilling like vibrant confetti. They came with their parents, eyes wide with excitement, clutching boxes of cupcakes and homemade cookies. They had all rallied for the feast, bringing the spirit of community to life. Hank instinctively smiled at the chaos, the joy of youth momentarily washing over the shadows that loomed around him. "See, Dad? This is what K-19 means to everyone," Emily said, encouraged. "It's not just about food, it's about connections. Look at them." Hank's heart softened, just a little. He watched the kids, their faces lit with enthusiasm, and yet the scars of lost dreams and fractured relationships felt insurmountable. In that moment, memories of his daughter as a little girl rushed through him, her laughter, the way she'd always insist on helping in the kitchen, despite his clumsy attempts to hide his own insecurity. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted his reverie. A toddler had knocked over a pitcher of lemonade, causing chaos to erupt with sticky floors and giggles. It was ridiculous, and yet, as Hank witnessed the parents rushing to help, something shifted within him. The warmth in the diner intensified. He turned to Emily, realizing that maybe he didn't have to bear this burden alone. Perhaps there was room for change, for healing, even amidst the jumbled emotions and regrets. With a deep breath, he stepped toward her. "You're right," he said. "Let us make this work. Together." Emily's eyes widened, a spark of hope igniting at the corners of her heart. They were still standing on shaky ground, but perhaps it was enough to start building again, and just as they began to move toward the kitchen together, a commotion silenced the diner momentarily. A figure stood at the entrance, silhouetted against the fading light of the evening. The crowd turned, breath collectively held. Who could it be? With hearts pounding, everyone waited for the figure to step forward, anxiously curious about the surprise that awaited them. The figure at the door took a tentative step forward, revealing a familiar face that brought a wave of gasps and whispers from the crowd. It was Sarah, Emily's childhood friend, who had moved away years ago. Time had shaped her, but the warmth in her eyes and the bounce in her step felt like coming home. "Sarah!" Emily exclaimed, joy lighting up her face as she rushed to embrace her friend. The rest of the diner erupted into a welcoming chorus, each voice carrying a hint of nostalgia. Hank felt a rush of emotions. He had watched his daughter and Sarah grow up together through the laughter of birthday parties and summer days spent swimming in the lake. To see their friendship rekindled brought back memories he had tucked away in the corners of his heart. Sarah looked around the diner, her gaze landing on Hank. "Mr. Carter. You're still running this place. Wow, it looks amazing." Her words were genuine, and despite the years apart, Hank felt a warmth envelope him that he thought was long gone. "Hey, Sarah," he replied, keeping his tone grounded in the familiar warmth of their past. He watched her slim figure move through the crowd, effortlessly sharing hugs and stories. For the first time that evening, a small smile crept at the corners of his mouth. Emily couldn't contain her excitement and pulled Sarah toward the kitchen. "We need more hands for the feast. Dad and I were just about to start working on the desserts." "Oh, I'm in," Sarah replied, brightening as she rummaged through her cupcake boxes, expertly pulling out the colorful creations. The joy radiating from her felt infectious. As they moved back into the kitchen, more laughter filled the air. Hank was entranced by the connection unfolding before him. The clattering of pans and the light teasing between the girls brought an energy that kicked the heaviness out of the diner. The storm that had brewed inside him began to calm. "Can I help?" Hank finally asked, surprising himself. Emily looked up from frosting cupcakes, her eyes wide with encouragement. "Of course. You could man the frosting station," she said playfully. He shrugged, feeling nervous but excited. The simple act of helping, of being part of something larger, brought him closer to the family he had almost lost. Hours passed, and the feast began to come together. Hank watched the community, joyful and intertwined. Families set up tables, children chased each other, and laughter bounced off the walls. The diner felt alive, more than just bricks and mortar, it was a heartbeat. As he moved amidst the joy, Hank caught snippets of conversations. People spoke of their dreams, hopes for the future, and memories of what K-19 meant to them. He realized he had a stake in this too, that perhaps he had been so focused on his own pain that he forgot to notice the beauty around him. Just as they were nearing the final stages of preparation, an unexpected knock echoed through the diner. The noise was sharp, pulling everyone's attention back, and Hank's heart raced at the thought of who could be at the door. Emily placed her frosting knife down. "Who could that be?" she asked, glancing curiously at her dad. Hank felt a mix of excitement and dread. Hadn't the evening been full enough? The door creaked open once more, and as it swung wide, a tall figure stepped forward. Hank's breath caught in his throat. Could this person be the last piece of a puzzle he hadn't realized he was missing? The figure stepped into the diner, and the room felt charged, as if everyone held their breath. Hank squinted to take in the familiar outline that now stood in the doorway. It was Tom, Sarah's older brother. His silhouette drew memories of summers spent barbecuing and late-night stories shared under the stars. "Hank." Tom's voice boomed across the diner, pulling Hank back into the present. "Long time, no see, my friend." A wave of familiarity washed over Hank as they grasped hands, their grip firm and warm. Laughter erupted around them, a happy chorus from the patrons. It was a sound Hank thought he had lost for good, but here it was, resurrected in the laughter of neighbors, the clatter of plates, and the rustle of old friends reconnecting. "Emily. Wow, look how much you've grown." Tom continued, shifting his attention to Hank's daughter. She beamed, her excitement doubling with Sarah and Tom back in the same space. "Can't believe you're back, Tom," Emily replied, spinning on her heels to face them both. "We're having a feast. Come help us finish up." Tom's eyes danced as he moved into the diner, his presence filling the space. "I'd love to help. I could eat 100 cupcakes after the drive here." The energy in the diner shot up as Tom connected with everyone, trading warm jokes and memories across the crowded room. For Hank, the atmosphere felt electric. Here they were, all these pieces from the past weaving back together into a tapestry rich with love and laughter. As the feast finally began to take shape, Hank found himself working alongside Tom, frosting cupcakes and swapping stories from their days in K-19. "Remember that time we tried to build a treehouse?" Tom chuckled, frosting smeared on his cheek. "That thing fell apart faster than we could hammer it together." Hank laughed, shaking his head. "Yeah, but we sure had fun trying. I think it's what sparked your love for engineering, didn't it?" "Maybe. But I think it was more that I wanted to prove you could build something that would actually stay up." Just then, Sarah shouted from across the kitchen, "You guys are frosting champions. But you're hiding behind the cupcakes. There's important work to do out here." Hank looked toward her, laughter bubbling up again. How long had it been since he felt so carefree? Just like that, the heaviness in his chest started to lift, the connection between them tangible and bright. As the tables filled, everyone gathered to share stories over the gathering feast. Plates laden with food were passed around, all laughter and joy, but then Hank noticed something in the corner of his eye, a figure lingering outside the diner window. A small girl stood there, her hands pressed against the glass, eyes wide as she took in the scene inside. "Hey, Emily, look!" He pointed. Emily turned, her eyes softening at the sight of the girl alone, her small form shivering slightly against the chill outside. "Let us bring her in. She should be part of this," Sarah said, determination in her voice. Hank felt a swell of protectiveness for the girl. Who would leave a child standing alone? As they approached the door, the girl stepped back, nervous. "It's okay," Emily said gently, the warmth in her voice melting barriers. "You can come in. We have plenty of food." Hank's heart ached seeing the hesitation on the girl's face. There was something haunting about it, yet there was also hope, a glimmer that reminded him of things lost and found again. What had she been through? This wasn't just a dinner anymore, it was shaping into something much larger, a community, a family. Hank turned to grab a few cupcakes, then knelt down to the girl's level. "Come join us. You'll love the cupcakes." But would she step through that doorway into the warmth or stay in the cold? With the door wide open, it was her choice, and the next moment could change everything. The little girl hesitated, her wide eyes darting back and forth between the warmth of the diner and the chilly night air brushing against her. Hank's heart pounded in his chest. He knelt down further, feeling the weight of the moment. "Just a few cupcakes and a lot of friends that's all waiting for you inside," he coaxed, offering a cupcake, frosting glistening in the dim light. Emily stepped a little closer, her voice a soothing melody. "Even if you're scared, you can take your time. We just want to share some joy with you, it's really fun in there." Finally, the girl took a tentative step forward, her thin frame still shivering. With a trembling hand, she reached for the cupcake. It seemed like a small act, but for Hank, it felt monumental. "I'm Marla," she whispered, her voice small, almost lost in the hum of laughter and chatter coming from inside. "Hank," he said warmly. "This is my daughter, Emily. We're all friends here." He stepped aside to let her enter, reveling in the shift in energy that filled the space. It was like welcoming in a lost part of a puzzle. As Marla stepped inside, the laughter escalated, wrapping around her like a blanket. The diner erupted into an explosion of welcoming words, hands reaching out and warm smiles inviting her to join. Hank watched her hesitate just inside the doorway before finally stepping fully into the light, her cautious steps followed by delighted gasps and impressed smiles. "Look what we found!" Emily exclaimed, her excitement contagious. "You're just in time for cupcakes." Marla looked around, finally allowing a shy smile to break through her uncertainty. As she took a seat at their table, she seemed to unfurl like a flower in spring. "Do you like chocolate?" Tom asked, plopping down a cupcake in front of her. "I love chocolate," Marla replied, a flush of surprise washing over her features. It was a simple phrase, but in that moment, it felt like the world shifted ever so slightly. Hank felt a surge of warmth wash over him, as if he had been caught in a wave of sunshine. He was witnessing something beautiful, a community opening its arms to a child who desperately needed it. As the evening progressed, more voices joined in, each telling their stories, sharing laughter, and asking Marla questions. Slowly, she began to open up, her quiet laughter ringing like music through the diner. "Can you tell us about your favorite toy?" Emily prompted. Marla hesitated, then picked up her cupcake, frosting still precariously perched on the edge. "I had this stuffed animal, a bear named Mr. Cuddles," she began, her voice gaining strength. "He helped me feel safe." "Mr. Cuddles?" Sarah smiled encouragingly. "What happened to him?" Marla bit her lip as the smile faded just a bit. "I lost him in the park, while hiding." A collective sigh filled the air, and Hank's heart tightened. He understood that loss, the ache of something beloved missing from your life. "I'm sure Mr. Cuddles would want you to be happy," he said softly, leaning into Marla's gaze, hoping to validate both her pain and her bravery. The energy shifted again as laughter resumed, yet an unspoken bond began to form around the table. It became a shared understanding, and Hank could feel the connections tightening, creating a safety net around this little girl in a way he never imagined. As the night deepened and the last of the food began to dwindle, Hank stole a glance outside. The moon hung bright, illuminating the dark sky, matching the glimmer of hope that had ignited in Marla's eyes. "Hey, how about we help you find Mr. Cuddles tomorrow?" Emily suggested suddenly, her eyes gleaming with determination. Hank's heart soared at the idea, envisioning the adventure it could lead to. Marla's eyes lit up, wonder returning, but there was still a moment of hesitation. "You'd really help?" "Of course," Emily replied, the warmth radiating in her voice. "We're friends now, and we stick together." As the diner's laughter mixed with the gentle hum of conversation, Hank felt a rush of emotion. In that moment, he knew they could do more than fill an empty seat at the table. They could fill a heart and perhaps help heal some unseen wounds too. Just as they began to plan their next day's adventure, a shadow fell across the diner door. Hank turned, the smile on his face slowly fading as he recognized the silhouette standing outside. Something darker loomed at the edges of their newfound joy. Who was that waiting in the shadows? And what would they mean for Marla? The figure in the doorway shifted, lingering like a bad memory. Hank's heart sank as he caught sight of the man. He was tall, with a leather jacket that seemed out of place in the warm diner. A hood obscured his face, but Hank could still make out the angry set of his jaw, the tension in his shoulders. Marla instinctively shrank back, her newly lit smile fading into worry. "Who's that?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Hank didn't respond, too consumed by a wave of protective instincts. He stood up, a silent decision solidifying within him. His family and Marla were his priority, and this man didn't belong to the joy they had just cultivated. "Stay here," he said, his tone low as he moved toward the entrance. He needed to face whatever darkness was threatening their hard-won light. As he approached the door, the man shifted, stepping into the light. Hank felt the fear radiating from Marla behind him. Adrenaline surged through him, his mind racing. He needed a plan. He just wanted to keep everyone safe. "Hank," Emily called softly, but he didn't turn back. "Can I help you?" He managed, trying to keep his voice steady. The man's eyes flashed with an unsettling mix of desperation and anger. "Where is she?" he barked, his voice rough like gravel. The diner's laughter slipped away, leaving an uncomfortable silence hovering in the air. Hank's stomach knotted. "Who?" "My daughter," the man said, and the weight of his words hit Hank hard. There was a sharp edge to the man's tone, but something deeper flickered behind it, something that seemed vulnerable. "She went missing. Her name is Marla," Hank interrupted, glancing back at the table where the girl was still seated. She looked terrified, her hands gripping the edges of the table, and Hank's heart ached for her. "That's her," the man said, his expression twisting into something darker as he took a step forward. "You have to give her to me." "No." Marla's voice broke from behind Hank, a vibrant splash of courage against the chilly air. "I don't want to go." The diner felt frozen in that moment, all eyes on them. Hank braced himself. He couldn't let her go back to whatever she had fled from. "Who are you?" Hank demanded, taking a bold step forward, his body acting as a barrier between Marla and the man. "Why was she hiding?" "She's my responsibility." The man barked, anger flaring again, but Hank could see something else beneath it: fear, maybe even shame. "Is that so?" Hank replied, his voice steady, though his heart hammered in his chest. "Then you should know that a father's responsibility is to protect his child, not scare her." The tension in the air thickened, suffocating them. Marla's wide eyes darted between Hank and her father, and for one fleeting moment, Hank wondered what kind of life she had lived under that man's shadow. He could feel Emily's small hand on his back, a silent show of support, and it emboldened him. He took a breath, steadying himself. There could be no room for fear anymore. "Not tonight." "I'm not going with you," Marla said softly, her resolve shining through the fear. "I want to stay with my friends." Hank's heart soared. There was power in her words, a recognition of her strength that warmed the whole diner. "See?" Hank said, looking the man in the eye. "This isn't about you. It's about Marla and what she needs. She's found a home here, with us." The man recoiled slightly, caught off guard by the defiance in Marla's voice and Hank's unwavering stance. There was anger still, but maybe, just maybe, there was also a flicker of understanding. Hank's breath caught in his throat as the atmosphere shifted again. The diners watched, waiting, hoping, but what was the man's next move? Would he push harder, or would he back down? In that heartbeat of silence, Hank realized they were standing on the edge of a decision that could change everything. The man's chest heaved with breath, his eyes darting between Marla and Hank. He hesitated for a moment, the tension in the air morphing into something almost palpable. It was as if the diner itself was holding its breath, waiting to see if he would break or fight. "You don't understand," his voice cracked, a sudden reminder of the humanity lurking beneath the bravado. "I've looked everywhere for her. I didn't mean to frighten her." "Then why did you?" Hank shot back, adrenaline sharpening his tone. Keeping his gaze locked with the man helped anchor his thoughts. They were in this moment together, each grappling with the gravity of the situation. "I thought," the man faltered, glancing back at Marla as if she held the answer. "I thought the worst, that she was in danger. I thought that she wouldn't want to come back." Hank interjected. Every passing second felt like a countdown. He had to protect Marla, but could he also offer this man what he may desperately need: understanding? Yes. The man's tension eased just enough for Hank to see a glimpse of vulnerability in his eyes. "You don't know what it's been like. I've made mistakes. When I realized she was gone, it was like losing a part of myself. I wasn't always this way." Marla's soft voice broke through the thick air. "It's okay to say you're scared," she said. "But being scared doesn't mean you can hurt me." Hank watched as Marla's courage rippled out, breaking through the harshness of the man's demeanor. The anger dissipated slightly, replaced by something more: mixed fear. "You don't know what I've done," he said, desperation lingering in the corners of his voice. "I've failed her too many times. It's why I need to bring her back home. I care about her. I'm trying to change." Change. The word settled between them like a spark that held promise. Hank's resolve softened a fraction. He could see this man was wrestling with his own monsters, shadows he'd let darken his path but now seemed to flicker with the hope of something new. Hank took a step back, his heart still beating hard against his ribs. "You want to change? Then show her that you can. Show that you're different now. Prove it." The man blinked, the realization washing over him. "I don't know how," he admitted, voice trembling. "Start by not forcing her back. Let her decide," Hank suggested, feeling the weight of his words. Marla's eyes lit up, searching Hank's face for affirmation. "I want you to be safe," she said, her gaze locking onto her father. "But I want to feel safe too. It's not just about you." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken emotions. The diners began to murmur softly amongst themselves, their shoulders relaxing as they sensed a shift in the tide. "Please," the man said, his voice reduced to a whisper, trembling with the effort of hope. "Just give me a second chance. It's all I'm asking for." Hank felt a flicker of empathy ignite in him. Perhaps, just perhaps, this could be a starting point. Both for Marla and for her father. "I will," he replied firmly, but a hint of uncertainty pricked at his mind. "But it won't be easy. And first, you need to show her you really mean it." As the man took a step back, something shifted in the air. The fight seemed to drain from him, leaving raw vulnerability in its wake. Then out of the corner of his eye, Hank saw Emily, her brow furrowed in thought. Could everyone really change? The man glanced at Marla, then at the floor, as if wrestling with the answer to that question. Could he be the father she needed? Just then, a siren wailed in the distance, sharpening everyone's focus. The echo of change lingered, but the risk still loomed close by. Is this the beginning, or just another chapter? Hank whispered to himself, knowing the stakes were higher than he could grasp. The diner's air felt thick with anticipation. The shaky start of a new story could be unfolding, but could they all come together to write it? The weight of the moment hung thick in the air, pressing down on everyone in the diner. Hank felt the pulse of fear and hope flicker between them like a small flame. Marla's eyes shone with something that made Hank's heart swell. Trust, maybe? Or was it something deeper? The man, still trembling, looked between his daughter and Hank, the acceptance of uncertainty settling in. I can't promise to be perfect, he whispered, his voice thick with emotions unspoken. But I want to try. Marla stepped forward, her movements cautious yet bold. I want to believe you, she said, her voice steady. But you can't just say you want to change. You need to show it. Eyes wide, the man nodded, processing every word like they were a lifeline tossed into a stormy sea. What do I need to do? He asked, desperation lacing his voice. Hank felt the energy shift in the room, the tension easing just enough to spark a glimmer of hope. Start by listening, really listening, he said, his words careful but firm. Be there for her. No expectations. Just be present. In that moment, Marla reached for her father's hand, the air crackling with the powerful connection of a daughter wanting to reconnect with her dad. It may have been small, but it felt monumental. Hank watched, tension slipping between his fingers, as they stood together, two hearts striving to connect again. The diner buzzed with conversations, whispers of hope fluttering around as other diners began to notice the change. Hank could see them exchanging glances. People leaning in, quietly rooting for the family. The waitress paused with a coffee pot, uncertainty written across her face. I don't know if I deserve this, the man said, glancing over at the other patrons. I never thought I'd find you again, Marla. I thought I was too late. A silence enveloped them, darting glances revealed shared pain from strangers. The urgency of the moment reminded everyone present of their own struggles, the journeys of their families. It was a collective breath drawn in anticipation. Could they all change? Would they? Life's not about perfection, Hank said, breaking through the thick layer of silence. It's about trying. Trying to be better. And sometimes that means taking a step back. Marla squeezed her father's hand. We can start with small steps. I'm willing to try if you are. The man's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and for the first time, he looked truly alive, vulnerable yet strong. I promise I will try, he said, his voice steady as it filled with resolve. For you, I will. Hank watched as the man visibly changed, a light thawing the shadows on his face. For Marla, this was more than a chance. It felt like a second birth, an opportunity to regain a piece of her heart. As for Hank, he felt an overwhelming sense that they were at the cusp of something monumental. Just then, the sirens blared loudly, breaking the fragile moment. The distant sound felt like a reminder that chaos still lurked outside, threatening to intrude upon their fragile peace. Let us get out of here, Emily said, a determined look on her face. We can talk more somewhere else. Hank felt a twist of anxiety, but deep down, he knew they needed to take this step together. The world outside felt daunting, yet here within the comfortable walls of the diner, something had begun to shift. Could the real transformation be waiting just outside? With each step toward the door, the echoes of uncertainty lingered, but so did the promise of hope. As Hank pushed the door open, the surge of cool air hit them, invigorating and electric. Are you ready? Hank asked, glancing at Marla and her father. The moment hung in the air, a simple question pregnant with possibility. Would they be bold enough to take that leap together? As the door swung open, the cacophony of the outside world rushed in like an uninvited guest. The sirens wailed in a relentless pursuit, reminding everyone of the chaos just beyond the diner's refuge. Hank felt his heart race. But he held on to the moment, this fragile, next-step moment. Marla peered outside, her grip tightening on her father's hand. "What's out there?" she asked, her eyes darting toward the unknown. The street was alive, people were moving, cars were honking, and in the distance, the glint of flashing lights cast an eerie glow. "It's just life," Hank replied, trying to keep the weight of reality at bay. "More than what's happening out there, what matters is what's happening right here." He gestured between Marla and her father. "You both have already taken the biggest step." Her father nodded, though uncertainty still echoed in his eyes. "I've been so lost for so long. I just want to understand how to navigate this life I've missed." There was a fragility in his tone, a pleading for clarity that only came with connection. Hank stepped outside, feeling the chill of the breeze bite against his skin. "Let's find a quieter spot," he suggested, scanning the street for a safe haven. "Somewhere we can talk without the sound of sirens, without the rush of the world." Together, they walked down the street, Marla and her father flanking Hank. Their presence felt electric, a jolt of possibility buzzing between them. Hank could see the corners of Marla's mouth quirk upward, a fragile glimmer of hope. The uncertainty didn't dissipate, it merged with determination. As they rounded a corner, they stumbled upon a small park, tucked away from the chaos. A faded sign read "Green Meadows," the swings creaking slightly in the wind. Hank felt it was a good place, inviting, serene. They could breathe here. "Sit," Hank encouraged, gesturing to a bench that was wrapped in a blanket of green grass. As they settled in, Hank studied their faces, two people caught in a storm, yet showing the first signs of resilience. Marla's father began to speak again, and his voice was softer now, as if vulnerability had become his shield. "What if I mess up again? What if I revert to who I was?" Hank met his gaze. "What if you don't? What if every day is a new chance to be better? It's those messy moments, the slip-ups, that teach us the most." His words felt like a beacon, lifting the weight of shame. Marla looked at her father, her eyes searching. "It's okay to stumble. We just have to promise to pick each other up." There was wisdom beyond her years in her voice, a maturity that made Hank proud. A passing cloud cast a shadow over them, highlighting the emotional turmoil that swirled within each heart. The sounds of the city faded as they shared the silence, marinating in the magnitude of the moment. Then her father's expression shifted, his brow furrowing deeper. "You know, I've been thinking about what it means to be a dad. I pushed so hard to succeed, to provide, that I forgot to be present. I don't want that for us." His honesty hung thick in the air. Hank felt a shiver run down his spine. Just being here, talking, is a step. You're here now, and that matters more than everything you think you've lost. And just like that, the sound of the world outside faded away, replaced with their shared heartbeat, a rhythm that spoke of possibilities unfolding like petals in the spring. "Maybe we could have a family dinner sometime. Just us," Marla suggested, her voice tinged with surprise, as if the idea was finding its way into existence for the first time. "I'd like that," her father replied, resolve building in his words. But as they exchanged this hope, a loud crash shattered their serenity, pulling their attention back to the world around them. "What was that?" Marla's voice trembled slightly, the panic creeping back as the tumult threatened to spiral their moment into chaos once more. Hank looked toward the noise, sensing the looming storm ahead. "Let's figure it out together," he said, steadying himself. "Whatever happens, we'll face it as a team." What would they discover as they instead leaned into the chaos? Would they find a way to navigate uncertainty together, or would they shrink back from the looming challenges ahead? The moment of chaos pushed through the park like a gust of wind, rattling the leaves and sending ripples of anxiety through the air. Hank felt that familiar surge of protectiveness rise up in him again. But something felt different now. There was a strength beside him, Marla and her father, ready to face whatever storm approached. "This is our chance," Hank said firmly. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." Marla's father nodded, his expression drawn but determined. As they stepped toward the source of the noise, the chaotic sounds transformed. Instead of fear, there was an invigorating thrill in the air, wrapped in the hope of openness and connection. They saw passers-by gathered in a group, their faces lit with a mix of concern and curiosity. A nearby vendor had overturned a cart of apples, causing playful chaos, laughter erupting from children as they gathered the scattered fruit. "That's what it's all about," Hank remarked, gesturing toward the scene. A slice of everyday life and a reminder of how community weaves in and out of small moments. He could feel Marla looking at her father, her eyes glimmering, hope crackling in the space between them. "That's life," Marla said simply, messy but full of joy. Her father absorbed her words, his heart swelling as he turned to Hank. Inspired by a simple accident, he mused, maybe we could learn from that. Exactly. Hank nodded, knowing now they shared something significant. No matter how daunting life may seem, it's the connection to people around you that truly matters. Even the messiness of it could lead to something beautiful. The trio joined the gathering crowd around the vendor, laughter washing over them like a comforting wave. They began assisting in picking up the apples, the warmth of community settling in their hearts, a reminder of K-19's spirit swirling like sweet smoke in their memories. With each apple returned to its owner's cart, Hank felt a bond of hope forming, stitching together their moments of vulnerability. As the laughter surged, Marla fitted herself between her father and Hank, their shoulders brushing in a united front. The tentative smiles exchanged were tender threads weaving a family back together. For the first time, her father looked less burdened, more alive, his tension easing as he relished the joyous moments unfolding before him. "Tomorrow," Hank said, his voice firm with intention, "we'll host a picnic at K-19. It'll be our place of transformation, all of us." Marla's eyes sparkled with excitement. "With cupcakes?" she quipped, the lightness in her tone turning the vision into a happy dream. "Definitely cupcakes," her father replied, laughter dancing in his voice. It felt liberating. And so, they took that first real step toward rebuilding not only their family but their places in the broader community. As they continued to help the vendor, the gradual transformation unfolded, breaching barriers they thought were impenetrable. Years of tears were healed in small increments, laughter filling the empty spaces with warmth and light, the path creating ripples into tomorrow. Each person who joined in the festivities became threads in a tapestry of connection, illustrating the power of community. As dusk settled in, Hank took a deep breath, the air rich with the scent of fried food and laughter. He felt the warmth of transformation blooming within him. The diner would thrive, and so would his relationship with Marla and her father. This was a new beginning. Everything else had led them here, to this moment of blossoming hope. "Let us go home," Hank said, glancing at Emily with a radiant smile, "together." Marla looked up at her father, hope shimmering in her gaze. "Together," he echoed, securing that invisible thread binding them as a new family. As they walked back toward K-19, each step felt lighter than before, filled with promise. The road ahead pulsed with possibilities, imperfect yet sparkling with the beauty of connection. Their journey of healing would continue to unfold just like K-19, one meal, one shared story, and one laughter-filled difficulty at a time. This was their family. This was their home. Now is your moment to embrace the change. Subscribe immediately to our channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to energize this community and keep the stories flowing. You have the power. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this profound transformation. You need to show your support. Let us grow this community together. Don't wait not even one more second to share.